So let me know if this has happened to you. You've been losing weight from week to week. You've just started a diet or a workout or an entire new program, and then you've been sticking with it, you're still sticking with it, and then suddenly it stops. The weight stops coming off, the scales aren't moving anymore, and you're frustrated. You don't know what's going on. You may be even sticking with the program. You're staying strict with the diet. You keep going through the workouts, but the weight's not coming off. You're not getting in better shape. You have hit a weight loss plateau. And what I want to be able to answer for you in this episode is something that I get asked so commonly, and that is, how do I break through a weight loss plateau? What do I do when my weight loss stalls? Now, what I'm going to be taking you through might ruffle some feathers, because what happens so much of the time is people will just start eating less and less and less, and especially when it's looking like your weight loss, or more technically, let's know it as what we have to determine as in fat loss. Your fat loss progress isn't going to be this steady decline. It's not week by week you going through and having a little chunk of, say, 1 pound, 2 pounds, 3 pounds, whatever it is that your goal is to be doing. You're not going to end up all the way there in this steady line. What's really going to happen is going to be a zigzag all the way through it, especially when you're doing it right as well. This is just the way that your body's going to be working. Now, where we need to start this is understanding, what are you actually using to assess your progress? Are you just using your scale weight as being able to know, am I losing fat or am I not? Because if you are, let's stop right there. Let's look at a better way to be able to see how you're getting in shape on a week-to-week basis. The problem is, when you're using scale weight, is it's not telling you the full story. You're just seeing total weight of what's going on with your body. You're not knowing what's the difference in glycogen levels, water levels, muscle levels, and fat levels. All these 4 different pointers are going to actually differentiate what that scale is telling you. And that means you're not getting the right basis. You could be gaining a little bit of lean tissue. You could be holding a little bit of extra water. Now, a really common scenario is, especially with females, because just commonly they're the ones that freak out, they're the ones that believe a little bit more that scale weight is so important, is what happens with a female is, when you start weight training, what's going to happen is you're going to actually hold more glycogen, which means you hold more water, which means at the start of a program, your weight can actually go up. And it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It can actually be a very good thing, because it's what's going on. But a lot of people, when they don't understand this, will freak out and do something completely different, or completely stop, and then it's stuffed. It's not a good thing from there. So what you need to understand is, what is the best way you can understand the way to go through and assess your progress. Now, best way of all is front, side, and back photos. Understanding if you can take the photos, get someone else to take the photos, or you take the photos yourself. This is what I do with my custom coaching clients, and even the MyFitBody community, so each of them privately can see their own results and progression throughout it. Then girth measurements are a great way to assess it. Literally seeing, it could just be your waist, your hips, your thighs, your chest, your arms, just going with the basics of those. You could just be keeping track of it on a piece of paper, in your phone. It's nothing hard, but it's being real and upfront as to how your body's progressing. Now, let's be truly upfront and honest with ourselves, and that is, are you following a plan? Let's just say you're eating 4 meals a day. That means it's about 28 meals that you're going to be eating on a per week basis. Now, I say you need a pretty good 90-95% adherence rate to a diet to make sure that you're getting the best results. So if you stuff up 3 or more meals in a week, which really 3 or more meals over an entire week isn't that much, your actually adherence rate isn't going to be where it needs to be. So this is where you need to understand, are you following the right plan? Is it actually too hard for you to be following? Is it too confusing for you to be able to follow it? And are you just being honest with yourself, and are you putting the actual real effort in? Because the next points that I'm going to be taking you through, they could be completely worthless if you just aren't following it. But I've got a pretty good understanding, you being here, you watching, consuming, being a part of this movement and the community, that you're not someone that's just going to flake out and stop following. So I just wanted to put there just as a caveat before we jump into this. So then the first factor that we can look at if you have truly hit a fat loss plateau is your training. Do we need to increase the frequency of your training first, especially that fundamental, what's really going to make up your workouts, which is your weight workouts, your resistance training? Can you be doing one more extra session? Especially as we go through this, you're going to find out only what little steps as we go through. There's no need for you to go from training 3 times a week to 6 or 7 times a week. There's a progression of steps which makes it a lot easier, and it gives your body a lot more time time to be able to get great results as well. So then, are you able to increase your weight training frequency in the week? If not, no dramas, that's all good. Can we include a little bit more in your actual weight training? Can we include more volume? So are you able to do more work? So are you able to do more sets, or do you start changing your training sessions, and do you say start pairing exercises together? So let's say if you're doing a weights workout, do you do a lower body exercise and an upper body exercise straight after it? Or you do an agonist movement and an antagonist movement straight after it? These are simple methods that you can put in place to make sure that you're getting more done in your workouts in less time. Then we can look at cardio. What is something so many people jump to is trying to add way too much cardio, especially starting off with too much cardio and finishing off with too much cardio. So there's only a progression that you need to go through. So especially with the small steps that I just mentioned before, let's do it with your cardio as well. If you are, say, doing 2 sessions of 20 minutes of cardio, stick with the 2 sessions. Maybe you bump it up to 30 minutes, or maybe you bump it up into being able to do a little bit more high intensity, whatever it is. It's a small progression of steps that you need to. So if you can't add any more frequency, any more workouts, because you don't want to go over the top, add more in the actual workouts. Then we can look at your food. Let's really make sure, are you making the best food choices first? Because that's going to be a big dictator of actually your hormonal environment, whether your body's going to be able to burn body fat or whether it's not, and you actually could be storing body fat at times as well. Now, with your food, let's look at your carbohydrates first. This is the first macronutrient that we can look at because, as I just said, your hormonal environment is so important. So if we start having better blood sugar control, which means, are you being able to slightly reduce your carbohydrate intake? Do you start eating carbs and following a carb cycling plan as well? Now, if you don't know what a carb cycling plan is, or you want to know how to follow a good carb cycling plan, I'll pop a link below this to a previous episode that'll walk you straight through that. But that's just one method that you can walk down. So it's all about having just a little bit of a small reduction at a time. Now, when it comes to your proteins and fats, you might be able to lower your fat intake a little bit, but really when we start off, your protein is definitely something that's set at adequate, and that stays pretty universal the whole time. And with your fat intake, it can seesaw with your carbohydrates. But again, there's a baseline where you don't want to go under. You need to be able to stick with an adequate fat intake because it's so important to be able to create hormones, give your body the building blocks for what's needed. Now, a great step for you to be able to take from here is something that I've actually really learned from Dr. Jay Teeter. And again, I'll pop some links below because we've done a couple of podcast episodes and he's phenomenal, out of this world, doing great work. And that is a concept of eat less, move less, and eat more and move more. And really what it's coming down to is not you just decreasing your food intake and actually increasing your exercise for you to be able to get results. This can also come to the point of, do you need to actually have a break? Do you actually need to have a break from dieting? Do you reverse diet and start really increasing your food intake back up? Do you start exercising less? And do you need to be able to look at 2 critical factors, which is your sleep and stress? Again, things that are impacting your hormonal environment to how good your body is at being able to burn body fat. Now, this brings us into the concept of being able to use a cheat meal or a refeed meal. This is actually being able to, say, acutely spike your carbohydrate intake to be able to reset hormonal environment, especially things, say, like with leptin and thyroid, this can really deal with. But also on a psychological aspect, this can really deal with you easily being able to follow through with your diet on a long-term basis as well. Now, I'm not going to get into just a couple of broad stroke points of cheat meals because I really believe that people just get it really wrong. People are ruining weeks of hard work because they're splurging, stuffing their face, and they're thinking, oh, I'm doing a cheat meal and it's all good, and they're justifying the wrong things. I'll actually be doing an upcoming episode that'll take you through how to do a cheat meal properly and what the big things are and what to avoid the big mistakes that I'm seeing as well. So then what I want you to do now is, are you going through a current weight loss plateau right now? Have you started to stall out? If so, comment below. I'd love to be able to jump in. I'd love to know what you've been able to take from this episode and also be able to give you a couple of pointers and some advice as well. This is something that I do a lot of in the My Body Blends community, so I've got no problems, and I love you being a part of here, watching these, being a part of the tribe and the movement that is My Body Blends. So comment below, and as always, I'll be looking forward to seeing you in the next episode. Now it's time for you to get the most out of this and comment below. This is where I will personally come in and give you the answers that you need. And as always, the best discussions happen over at mybodyblend.com. This is where I can give you all the guides, programs, and insights that I can't fit in these episodes. Plus the free diets and workouts are there waiting for you now. And if you did like this episode, then be sure to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode and I can send them straight to you. I'm looking forward to seeing you soon here and in the My Body Blends only community.